Usbo na to ang kalibutan, tay.
My job is to make college easier because students have a lot on their
Sorry, Coach!
Gusto nimo, kabut ra gyud nimo. Maningkamot lang gyud ta. Kinahanglan, ligon gyud ka. Komplikado ang kinabuhi. Makat-un ka sa bisan unsang kasinatian. Hugot lang yun ang pagtuo. Sa ngadto-ngadto, ligunon ka sa panahon. Manggihatagon ka. Ania ang kalibutan. Imo kining tanan.
Shopee 12.
Hello, good evening, good afternoon rather. Good afternoon, everyone. And welcome to our webinar on the Safe Spaces Act. So, hi, I am Ms. Jaisalu Saturina. Sir, you can call me Ms. Jazz. I am the UP Cebu Gender and Development Coordinator. Now, today, we will kickstart with our webinar series on the Safe Spaces Act. So, this is in support of the Philippine Commission on Women's 18-day campaign to end violence against women. So thank you so much really for taking the time to be here. So this webinar series we will be having 3 talks for this series. So this webinar series is in cooperation with the Teaching and Learning Resource Center of UP Cebu. Now I understand that our participants come from different areas of the country. So far, we have 120 participants in our Zoom, and there are some also on our YouTube Live. So for our participants here, may you just, in the Zoom meeting, may you just type in the chat box your location or your affiliation. I'm seeing some responses from Colegio de Santa Lourdes of Leyte. And we also have from UP Diliman. We have from Iris Cavite Campus, BS Criminology. We have from Negros Oriental State University. Let's see, the others. So we also have from Liceo de Calauan, Laguna. Some here are from Taytay Rizal, from Namria, from Tarlac, from Provincial Government of Cavite, from Catanduanes State University, College of Aeronautics. We also have from Gordon College, Olongapo City, from LTO, Land Transportation Office Region 7. We have from Pateros Technological College, also again from UP Diliman, from Cubao. We have from Dumaguete. Okay, we have from Pakistan. Wow. We have also from Eastern Samar State University, from Jensan, from Taguig, from Leyte, Camarines. Okay. So I'm seeing really we also have from UC Pardo. All right. So we're really happy to have you here, guys. So just keep your answers coming. So coming from different, we have from universities, we have from government offices, we have students, and also have employees. So really thank you for taking the time to learn about the Safe Spaces Act. Now, just to begin, may I call on Ms. Noel to give our webinar reminders.
Thank you very much, Miss Jazz. Okay, let me just share my screen. All right, so before we proceed with our webinar proper, please take note of the following reminders. So the webinar today will be recorded. We will be keeping tab of the proceedings for this webinar for documentation purposes. You are free to leave if you feel uncomfortable that this session will be recorded. And please mute your microphone during the talk. We want to make sure that the speaker's voice is clear to everyone. We may opt to remove you if you don't follow this request. Also refrain from taking pictures or videos of the talk. If you do so, you will be held accountable of data privacy violations if the copy you created leaks into other internet outlets. We wish to keep the identity of our participants private, so as yours as well. And also, please avoid using the annotation tool. Once the annotation tool is activated, you might unconsciously swerve your arrow towards the speaker's presentation and draw unnecessary lines that may block the participant's view on some texts and images on the slides. If you have questions while the talk is ongoing, you may put them in the chat box. After the talk, you will have a chance to ask your questions. We wish for you to only use the chat box rather than voice because of our time constraint. And don't forget to evaluate. Your inputs on the webinar will help us improve our next webinars. After you have answered the forms, you will be given a proof of participation. The evaluation link will be opened right after the webinar and shall remain open for only 15 minutes. Our webinar is currently live streaming on our YouTube channel, TLRC UP Cebu. For those watching through our YouTube Live, you will get your proof of participation by staying until the end of the session. We will be announcing the instructions at the end of the live chat, so please stay tuned. And if you want to get updated on our future webinar and trainings, or you just want to contact us, please like our Facebook page, Teaching and Learning Resource Center, University of the Philippines, Cebu. Or if you want to review the past webinars, including this webinar, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, TLRC UP Cebu, and visit our website, tlrc.upcebu.edu.ph, and send us an email at lrc.upcebu@up.edu.ph. Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone, again.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Noel. No? So I hope that our participants will take note of our webinar reminders. Now, to start, I am truly honored to introduce our guest or our speaker for this afternoon. So allow me to read. Professor Leo D. Batad is an associate professor at the UP College of Law. She was the former director of the Office of Legal Aid of the same college from June 1, 2008 to June 7, 2011, and is presently the program director of the Gender Law and Policy Program of the College of Law, as well as a member of the Worker and Employees Program. Recently, she is appointed faculty member of the Humanitarian and Philippine Judicial Academy, a training school for justices, lawyers, judges, court personnel, and aspirants to judicial posts. Professor Batad obtained her Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science and Bachelor of Science degree in Foreign Service from UP. She also obtained her Bachelor of Laws from UP in 1981 and her Master of Laws from Yale University School of Law in 1998. Professor Batad teaches courses in labor law and human rights theory and practice in the Juris Doctor program and international human rights and international humanitarian law in the Master of Laws program. She has also taught criminal procedure, special proceedings, and legal profession and ethics. Now, before joining the faculty of the UP College of Law, she was also the former University General Counsel of the University of the Philippines System from July 2003 to February 2005. She was also a former commissioner of the Presidential Commission for the Urban Poor from September 1998 to December 1999. She has taken human rights courses, trainings, and fellowships in USA, Europe, and Australia. She has also written articles and done research in labor law, gender equality, human rights, and developmental legal aid. A human rights advocate, she is a member of the Free Legal Assistance Group, or the FLAG, and the founding and current chair of the Street Children Development Center, Incorporated. Truly, we are honored to have an accomplished and distinguished speaker with us. So let us give a virtual round of applause to Attorney Leo Batad.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would just like to know how many minutes am I given to discuss the topic?
You have an hour 30.
An hour, so I'm the only one, or there are still other speakers?
You will be the only one for this session, Attorney.
Okay. If that were the case, then because I understand that I will be discussing on the Safe Spaces Act, but I would rather that I will also discuss in relation to Safe Spaces Act, the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act, because it is also about sexual harassment. No, so that we will see the difference, because these are still laws in our country, and we will be able to note the distinction. So in that case, I will therefore discuss the longer one, if you will permit me, instead of the shorter one.
Okay,
so
sure, attorney.
okay, sige. Let me just go to the longer version. Okay, and I will share my screen. Okay, so this is the longer version. If I'm the only speaker, is that right?
Yes, that's correct, attorney.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so my discussion therefore would be on Anti-Sexual Harassment Act, and we have two laws. No, and the one that you stated there refers to the most recent, which is Republic Act 11313. But let us just go back and review Republic Act 7877, because it is still an existing law. But therefore, in that case, I'm going to discuss it in the Work and Educational Training Institution. Now, when we speak of Anti-Sexual Harassment Act, we say that it is reprehensible, karumal-dumal, no? At kinamumuhian ito, and it is also unacceptable, no? It cannot be under any circumstances be accepted at any time or at any place. And for that reason, sexual harassment is a form of sexual violence. No, it is what we call, what is involved here is power. No, so the other person believes that he or she has the power. And please take note that when we say that sexual harassment is a form of sexual violence, it is also a criminal offense under Republic Act 9262, which is the Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act of 2004. Because in sexual violence, one of the forms of violence that can be committed under RA 9262 is sexual violence. And when we speak of sexual violence, it has a long list, and so it says not limited to rape. It would also include sexual harassment and all other criminal offenses that you will find in the revised penal code. But I would like to start this with the concurring opinion of Justice Leonen of the Supreme Court in the case of Re anonymous complaint against Attorney Crescencio Co-Untian Jr. Masakit kasi abogado to, no? So Attorney Crescencio Co-Untian actually is a lecturer of a school. I just hope that he is not a lecturer in one of the schools that I heard a while ago. No, mga participants who come from the other schools that I heard a while ago. No, because she was harassing, no, in fact, 3 students, no, female students, and he was doing it in a form of a joke during classes. And of course, these students had to complain to one of the professors who happens to be also a lawyer. So may redeeming factor din yung pagiging abogado. And that lawyer actually filed this anonymous complaint against him. And here, you can see the concurring opinion of Justice Leonen in the main decision of the Supreme Court. You see, Justice Leonen actually used to be the gender officer, gender justice in the Supreme Court. Siya ang nagbabantay, no, tungkol sa sexual harassment, and even in the pleadings of lawyers and judges. No? And he said, our ruling today acknowledges the persistence of patriarchy in our society. So patriarchy to mean that there is this male preference in our society. And the historical and cultural expression of male privilege, no, or simply the privilege of males, qua males, or in other words, males simply because they are males over females qua females, or females simply because they are females still exists. Patriarchy is a powerful, dominant, molding attitude that is nefariously manifested when the meaning and distressing representations of any woman, especially when clearly identified, kung tukoy na tukoy natin yung tao, are disguised as jokes. So marami tayo, pa-joke-joke tayo, no, and we make fun at some women, at lalo masakit kung may specific woman pa na pinatutunguhan natin. And he said, while normally entertaining for most men, this is generally callous to women whose dignity may suffer. And he went on to say that respondent, attorney Ko Eun-chan, coded his advances through jokes, no? That it was coded through jokes is aggravating, lalo pang lumalala pagka dinadaan sa biro. And he said that he hoped, no, si Attorney Ko Eun-chan, to create an environment that normalized, no, nagiging normal, normalized his act, okay? And those who laughed were complicit. No, so pagka nag-green jokes ang tao, gumagawa ng sexist slur, no, homophobic, transphobic comments or remarks, tapos ang mga tao pa ay tatawa pa, that means that we are complicit or we are co-participants, no? Parang kasama tayo doon, kadamay tayo doon sa gumagawa ng sexual harassment. At sabi dito, the more they laughed, the more his act appeared normal, no? Parang yun na yung kalakaran, parang kailangan na lang ng tanggapin yan kasi yan talaga ang normal sa buhay natin. The more too that his act directly caused unsolicited suffering upon his victims. And he said, patriarchy becomes encoded in our culture when it is normalized. In fact, I may even say that it has been normalized, no? Talagang baon na sa ating kultura at para bagang walang masama pagka merong nag-green jokes o kaya naman nagse-sexual harassment. Parang ang sinasabi natin, it is part of life. Diba? Normalized na siya. And he said that the more it pervades our culture, the more its chances to infect this and future generations. Hindi lamang itong henerasyon na to, kundi pati future, because our children, you know, in psychology, they said that children learn, no, from the adults, no, by example, kung ano yung ehemplong nakikita nila sa mga adults, no, by imitation, kasi ginagaya din nila yung ginagawa ng mga tao. And so pagka tinitingnan nila sila, ayun pala, natural lang pala yun, natural, normal lang, no? And so it infects even the future generations, yung mga anak natin, yung anak ng anak natin, yung anak ng anak ng anak natin, no? And so on down the line. With that, when we speak of sexual harassment, it used to be that in sexual harassment, it was just considered an administrative disciplinary case, okay? And that was the case of Villarama versus NLRC. So this is a labor case, no, in 1994. And it says that sexual harassment committed by the managerial employee against a subordinate constitutes evidence amounting to loss of trust and confidence, which is a valid reason for dismissal. So maswerte pa noon, noong 1994. Kasi ang kaso lang niya, administrative case, hindi siya kinakasuhan ng criminal case. So that was Villarama versus NLRC. Yung boss, nagpunta sila sa restaurant, kasama nila mga ibang lalaki. Dapat may mga 4 na babaeng sasama, umatras yung 3, 1 lang na babae ang naiwan. Tapos nung hinatid siya, dinala siya ng diretso doon sa motel, no? Okay, tapos nagkaroon ng sexual harassment. Okay, so yan, dismissal lang kasi, remember, managerial siya, so superior as against the subordinate. Pero dumating ang Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995 or what we refer to as Republic Act 7877. Now, in Republic Act 7877, take note, batas pa rin ito ngayon, no? Saan nako-commit, no? Through work and education or training related environment. So medyo limited, no? Wala yung pagka pumito ka dyan sa kalye, no, na wow, sexy, Coca-Cola body, yung mga ganong klase, yung mga sexual harassment sa streets, sa parks, hindi kasama yon. No, ito ang medyo kakulangan nitong batas na ito. No, kasi doon lamang sa work environment, tsaka sa education, at tsaka kung may training. No, at yung training, pwedeng training din yan in the context of work. No, pwedeng nag-training kayo sa labas ng opisina, pero work-related. No, so yon ang tinatawag nila work and education or training-related environment. At sino ang pwedeng mag-commit? Ito ang pangalawang kakulangan nitong batas na ito. Dahil ito ay limited lamang ang mga perpetrators or offenders ay mga nakakataas sa atin. Mga boss natin, mga bossings, no, employer, manager, supervisor, agent of the employer, o kaya naman kung sa school setting to, sa education, mga teacher, instructor, professor, coach, or trainer. No, so yung mga PE coach natin o kaya sa mga trainings natin, ng mga short trainings lang natin, mga trainers, so kasama sila na po pwedeng mag-commit kasi syempre sa mga trainers may mga learners. So mas nakakababa yung learners sa trainer. At nakalagay dito, any other person with authority, may otoridad siya, meron siyang impluensya, o kaya naman meron siyang moral ascendancy. Meaning to say, nakatataas siya dahil sa kanyang probably religious position. So kasama dito ang mga pare, mga pastor, mga ministro, mga madre, no, kasi ang itong Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995 o yung Republic Act 7877, pwede ding ang babae ang magharas at ang biktima ay lalaki, no? Remember yung panood na Disclosure na ang bida doon ay, sino ba yung bida doon sa The Ghost na babae? No, si Demi Moore. Pagkatapos naman si Michael Douglas naman yung kanyang employee, no, si Demi Moore, lalaki, babae siya, no, na boss, no. Okay, si Wakar Ahmed, may tanong, Wakar, may hand si Walker, nagre-raise ng hand, no? So ito, ibig sabihin nito, meron siyang impluwensya kahit papaano, no? So kahit babae, no? At pwedeng ang mabiktima din ay lalaki. Okay? So papaano ginagawa ito, no? How is it committed? Ito rin ang limitasyon nitong batas na ito, ang sabi lang, demands, request, humingi ka, o nag-require ka ng pabor, sexual favors. At dito sabi, regardless of whether the act is accepted. So hindi mahalaga kung tinanggap nung babae o nung lalaki yung sexual favor. No? Halimbawa, nag-demand yung teacher, okay, ipapasa kita. No? Basta magde-date tayo. At pumayag naman yung estudyante. No? So walang halaga yung pagpayag ng estudyante. O kaya naman sasabihin naman yung ng boss mo na okay, pipirmahan ko tong promotion mo, ipropromote kita, basta pupunta tayo sa motel, you will have to go to bed with me, no? Okay. So at pumayag siya, no? Ang sabi ng korte, hindi yun depensa. That is not a defense. Why? Because the acceptance may not really be voluntary. Either the person is just afraid, no, to lose the job, o kaya naman if this were in an education setting, that it might be bad for the student, no, the implication or the impact of the refusal will be bad for the student. Kaya sabi dito, regardless of whether the act is accepted. However, sinabi natin dito, no, demands, request, or requires, no. So maraming mga pilosopo kasi nang-chancing sila. So ang tanong, are sexual advances considered sexual harassment? No? So a person steals a kiss. Is sexual harassment committed? No? Now, in the Supreme Court, Philippine Alus Automotive United Corporation versus NLRC, and this is a 2000 case, sabi ng Supreme Court, it took into account the manager's sexual advances, yung pagcha-chancing, touching of the hands, putting arms around the woman's shoulder, no? Ay syempre yung invitations for a date, request na ito, no? Ito nag-request. Yung sexual advances, they will consider that as a language, no? It is maybe it is not verbalized, no? It's not written, it's not oral, it's not verbalized in fact, but it is in the form of an action. So it is still considered a language, no? So ang sabi nila, kasama ang sexual advances. And dito sa kaso na to, the employee actually, has been sexually harassed by the boss, no, or the employer. No, the employer was asking for invitation and then touching hands, putting arms around the woman, and so the woman got pissed off. One day, what she did was to throw a stapler at the employer, no, at the boss, no, yung immediate boss, who happened to be the owner of the company. And so even the court said that, well, he was courting danger. It was his fault in the first place that a stapler was thrown against him because that was the only defense of the person, of the woman. No, and in this case, there was retaliation because the employer actually filed cases against the employee. But the court did not, of course, take that into consideration because they said that all of those charges were trumped up charges. So mga gawa-gawa lang daw ng mga kaso just to get back at the person. So it's a retaliation. So, and then another limitation of this law, RA 7877, is that it can be committed usually in a quid pro quo situation, something for something. So if I ask you, I demand for something, there is an exchange, may kapalit. So sasabihin niya, I will give you your promotion if you go to bed with me. So may kapalit, may condition. No? An example, for example, is a sexual favor as a condition in the hiring or in the employment or re-employment or continued employment or in granting favorable compensation to an employee. Okay? So nandito pa lang tayo sa work-related, ha? Take note, nasa work-related, wala pa tayo sa education. Or else, it is also considered sexual harassment if the person who is the object of the sexual harassment refused to grant the sexual favor. But because of that sexual favor, refusal of the sexual favor, that person, the victim, was discriminated o kaya deprived or diminished employment opportunities, no? For example, she would have wanted to go for a training abroad, but because she refused the request or the demand or the requirement of the employer, no, she was not able to get the training opportunity, no? Okay, so that is what it means in number one. The other one is when sexual favor impairs rights or privileges under existing labor laws. So because there will be sexual favors, and because of that sexual favors, this will be, for example, in relation to giving up some of the rights of the employees. No, so ang sasabihin niya, actually pareho rin to, halos pareho sa number one, no? But this is just to ensure that there will be no possibility of escape, no? So that's why they said if it impairs existing labor laws, the person was not able to exercise, for example, the parental leave, the what we call the paternity leave and maternity leave, no? And then number three, and this is the most dangerous in a work-related situation when it says that the sexual favor results in intimidating, hostile, or offensive environment for the employee. So anything that will offend the victim. If the sexual favor offended the victim, ang tingin niya, ay, naku, kadiri. And then the person is already affected, the productivity and efficiency of the person is affected, and it has caused fear on the employee, then that kind of sexual favor will now be considered as sexual harassment. Now, in an education related, this includes a situation where the student is under the care, custody, or supervision of the offender. Usually, this is a situation where the student is in a dormitory, because in a dormitory, there are those who are caretakers, And so if the caretakers will take advantage and do sexual harassment, commit sexual harassment on the dormers, student dormers, then that will be considered sexual harassment. And also in situations where there is an education, training, or apprenticeship or tutorship entrusted to the offender. For example, we are, say, poor in mathematics, and then we requested a tutor. Okay, and so that tutor, there will be a tutor-learner situation. That means that the person has the ascendancy, and the authority, and so that will also be considered committed. And of course, when the sexual favor, as usual, is made as a condition to the giving of passing grade or granting honor. So this is what we call the quid pro quo, something for something. And finally, again, like we said, the most, this is a catch-all provision. If nothing else, the person can always fall under number 4. When the sexual advances, take note, it didn't use favor, sexual advances, sa labor, sa work situation, wala. But the Supreme Court said sexual advances are included. But here in the education, it is very clear because it says sexual advances result in intimidating, hostile, or offensive environment for the student, trainee, or apprentice. Okay? Now, the question is, supposing an employee or student files a complaint for sexual harassment against an officer or teacher, is there protection against retaliatory acts of the perpetrator? Now, in RA 7877, there is none, but in the Safe Spaces Act or Republic Act 11313, there is. Okay? So, merong protection against retaliatory acts, so there is none. But that is not to say, of course, that simply because there is no provision against retaliatory act, yung paghihigante, that means that we will just grin and bear it. Because remember, the longer you do not complain, it is possible that the person, the harasser, will harass again, if not you, if not me, then other people. And so the sexual harassment will continue. So we will not tolerate, and we should not tolerate sexual harassment. Whether under RA 7877 or RA 11313, which is the Safe Spaces Act. So what then is the duty of the employer to prevent or deter the commission of sexual act? There has to be a procedure. They will have to formulate rules of procedure for the investigation, as well as to provide administrative sanctions. So I took note of the fact that there are private universities and schools who are represented here by their students, probably, and employees. So it is very important, under RA 7877, there has to be a procedure, and an administrative sanction within the university, and that the employer should create a committee on decorum and investigation. Now, there was a study, a German foundation, and they studied some private institutions, in Iloilo, Cebu, Davao, Manila, and there was one more. There were 5 cities, and they said that the rate of compliance of these private institutions, very low. Of course, there is a general penalty if you violate any of the provisions of RA 7877. But one of our proposed amendment is that this has to have a specific penalty in itself. Meron. Now, in RA 11313, naglagay sila ng specific penalty if the employer does not implement its duty. Isang butas rin ito, no? One more weakness of this RA 7877. Okay, so what is the liability of the employer if it fails to act on the report? Now, the Supreme Court, no, and this is applicable to everyone, including public and private, no, private institutions, no, the employer's solidarity liability. No, so the employer will also be liable if it is informed of such acts and no immediate action is taken. And this will also apply in RA, we would say RA 11313. It could be applied, no, because this is a situation where there is a complaint for sexual harassment and the employer did not do its duty to immediately take action. Okay, and so that is the case of LBC Express versus Palco. It is a very recent decision. Again, this time it is no longer a concurring opinion of Justice Lionel, but it is the main decision, and he was the ponente. No, okay, he was the pen writer, and then it says here that even if LBC, no, we know the LBC, ito courier to, no, LBC has no participation in the sexual harassment because LBC was saying, no, we are not at fault. It's just the officer. No, we have no participation as a corporation. But here in this decision, it says that the corporation has no part, even if no participation, it had been informed of the incident. So despite this, it failed to take immediate action on the respondent's complaint. And for failure to do so, no, okay, sabi nila, its lack of prompt action reinforced the hostile work environment created by Batucan, who was the offender. Okay, here, you know, it took so long because the formal investigation commenced only 41 days after the incident. And then after that, meantime, si Batucan already resumed his duties as usual. And so, syempre, you know, if you see your offender, it might cause you some, you will be afraid, you might not be effective because every time you see this person, no, probably this person might be looking at you and probably giving you a warning sign, a warning look, no, or an intimidating look. And so that is what is happened. That's what happened here. And it was another month before it held an administrative hearing for the case, and then another 2 months to finally resolve the matter. So the court says, no, you have to take immediate action, and as soon as possible, the case should be investigated, heard, and the resolution should be sent out as soon as possible without compromising, of course, due process. Okay, so that said, when we speak, therefore, of sexual harassment, until when are we given the chance to file a case? Okay, of course, in ALUS again, the same case where the employee threw a stapler across, no, and hit the boss, no, the employer owner. The court says that, strictly speaking, there is no time period within which he or she is expected to complain through the proper channels. No, so this is RA 7877. However, in Safe Spaces Act, there will be periods within which to file a case. But in sexual harassment under RA 7877, it says there is no time. No, so the time may vary depending on the needs, circumstances, and more importantly, the emotional threshold of the employee. Why emotional threshold? Because some employees or even some students, you know, even if they are sexually harassed over and over again, sometimes they have a very long threshold. They can just grin and bear it. But then later on, it becomes, you know, like a volcanic eruption. No, finally, this person will say enough is enough. No, so they will look at the circumstances. Why did this person did that file? Maybe because she's still a student. And so after she was a student and she has already graduated, she filed a case against the professor. Okay, so they will look at the circumstances, or even the employee. Maybe the employee was afraid at the time because this person happens to be very powerful. Okay, and then so those are the things that will be taken into consideration. Now came Safe Spaces Act, which is RA 11313, and approved in 2019. Now, Safe Spaces Act tried to address the limitations of RA 7877. No? So like we said, in RA 7877, who can commit? It is only the supervisors and the bosses above, our superiors, are the only ones who could commit. There is no peer-to-peer relationship. So if we are co-employees or we are the same students, co-students, there is no sexual harassment there. And then in RA 7877, it is quid pro quo, something for something. But in Safe Spaces Act, we will see that there is no more quid pro quo. It's not important, no? And of course, in RA 7877, there is no retaliatory provision. Here in Safe Spaces Act, there is, okay? And of course, all other weaknesses of RA 7877 was addressed here in Safe Spaces Act. Okay, so what does the Safe Spaces Act seeks to prohibit? It seeks to stop gender-based sexual harassment. This time, another limitation of RA 7877 is that it can only happen in the workplace and education institutions. But here, it was expanded. It is broader in scope. Why? Because there can now be gender-based sexual harassment in the public space as well as online. Okay, so now the one weakness of RA 7877 was addressed. No, so it's broader in scope. Okay, so what then do we consider gender-based streets and public spaces sexual harassment act? Okay, so where is it committed? We said public space. So streets, alleys, sidewalks, parks, schools, churches, they are all public, because it is accessible to the public. Anyone can enter, including government offices. So if we give a wolf whistling while we are on the streets, before in RA 7877, that is not sexual harassment. It is sexual harassment, but it is not covered by the law because the law is only on the work and education. This time in Safe Spaces Act, public spaces. So po pwede. And then, of course, public space, the common carriers, jeepneys, the public vehicles, public utility vehicles, even the private vehicles covered by app-based transport network services like the Grab, the Uber. Siyempre, we don't have Uber anymore, or the angkas, mga motorcycles sa mga angkas, If you notice, sometime back in 24 Oras, sa GMA, there was a report of a jeepney driver, a PUV, and the passenger happens to be seated in front, beside the driver. And of course, the driver, in the guise of trying to shift gears, nag-i-slide, the hands was sliding, and then it would touch, and caress the thigh of the passenger. And the passenger would remove, okay? And so that was seen in television, and I think it went viral, if you still recall it. So that is sexual harassment. And you will find out later on that that will mean a higher penalty because that is what we would consider qualified sexual harassment. So it will receive a higher penalty. And the same with the private vehicles covered, including, this motorcycle. And only last week, if I'm not mistaken, was it last week or this week? There was again a news in 24 Oras. And then, I don't know if it was in 24 Oras or in, what's the one in Channel 2? Ano nga ba ang sa Channel 2? Kasi usually, I watch in GMA. So, yung sa Bayan, or something na news report, maganda rin yun. TV Patrol, I think. It's TV Patrol. I'm not sure now kung which one, but another person complained against a motorcycle, no, na parang mga angkas-angkas, no. It's not angkas, no, because angkas is ano, but it's a motorcycle na namamasada. No, so the passenger actually complained because there was sexual harassment, no, and again it was of course reported, no, and this is the other recreational spaces, and this one is the general catch-all provision. All other areas openly accessible or offered to be accessed by the public. So as long as other people can go there, and that other people are allowed, no? Kahit naman, even if it's a very, let's assume it's a church and it's empty and there's only one person there praying, no, that is still a public place, even if there aren't many people, because it is accessible to the public. Okay, so how is gender-based streets and public spaces sexual harassment committed? So it is committed through any unwanted and uninvited sexual actions or remarks. So take note, this is not quid pro quo. No, it's not like something for something, like I will demand or I will request because I will give you your promotion. Because this is not in a work situation. It is in the streets or in public spaces, no? So sexual actions, such as if we do limbo-limborak and we look, salaciously at a person, as a person, and then we stick out our tongue and we salivate and that sort of thing in a very sexual way. So that will be considered sexual acts or even sexual remarks, no? Making remarks, for example, about the gender identity of the person. And so we will say, ay, bakla, bakla, ay, tomboy, and so forth and so on. Ay, transgender woman siya, o transgender male, oh, binabae, and that sort of thing. Tapos we will laugh. Okay, so those are what we call street-based and public spaces sexual harassment. And take note, this is regardless of the motive. So we have no excuse. We cannot say that we are in good faith or that we have no bad intention, because this is what we call, sometimes referred to as mala prohibita. It is prohibited per se, no, and we will not, never mind anymore about whether you have good intentions, okay? Because any person who has a good intention will not do that. No, in fact, no human being has the right to do violence on anyone, male or female. No, kahit na yung mga hazing, no, because actually in international human rights law, that will be considered cruel and inhumane punishment or treatment, and that is also a violation. No, actually another crime na naman yon. No, it's a cruel and inhumane treatment. If not, kung nasa prison yan, it's a punishment, no? But if you just are walking there, it will be considered that. And if it is depending on the severity, it could also mean torture, okay? And so no violence against anybody, no? So that would include all kinds of violence, not only sexual violence. However, we're talking here of sexual violence. So now, how is gender-based streets and public spaces also committed? Again, no, one example here is catcalling, wolf whistling, and uninvited invitations. No, so when the person refuses and says no, please stop it. Because remember, in sexual harassment, whether under RA 7877 or under Safe Spaces Act, which is RA 11313, it means an act, even one act, or it could be a series of acts. One catcalling, one wolf whistling, one misogynistic, transphobic, homophobic, or sexist slur is sexual harassment. However, we can be kind to the other person. Why? Because maybe after all, we are all victims. No, we were brought up that way. Maybe we saw that as an example from the adults before, that they think it is normal to do sexist slur or to do green jokes, to say green jokes, no? And so we should find it a little bit kind, no, even just once. But our kindness should mean a warning. We have to tell the person, do not do it again, because even now I could file a case against you, but please don't do it again. And we do it in the nicest possible way, okay, because we would also like to enlighten the other person, okay? Or kung there are students, no, na nagwi-whistle dyan, okay, so pwede nyong sigurong sabihan mo, especially if there are other people, safe ka naman, no, maybe you could tell them, no, tell them in their faces, in a nice way, that constitutes sexual harassment, so please do not do it again, no. I remember when I was a student here in UP Diliman, no, we used to call it Arts and Sciences, now it is called College of Social Science and Philosophy. Now, there is a bridge there that connects one building to the other. No, it's a shortcut because actually, if you enter the building, you could, you could still go to the other building. No, but this is a shortcut. No, the bridge. No, and there are students there who are seated on the side, no, on the fence of the bridge. And I didn't realize, but soon enough I did. No, because anyone who crosses, any female student who crosses the bridge, no, they would say 10, 8, 7, no, 4, and then they would all laugh. No, all the while they were trying to rate the figure of the female student. No, so if it's 10, it's perfect, sexy, no, like a Coca-Cola body. But if it's not, they would even laugh. No, and I didn't realize that. And so when I learned about it, I don't cross that bridge anymore. No, and so they give those are the catcalls or even mga sexist slurs. No, it's sexist slur because it demeans the person. Okay, it's demeaning. And what we are talking about when we talk of sexual harassment or even sexual violence, such as rape and all others acts of lasciviousness, is the human dignity of the person. Let us consider this very important two words, human dignity. Nobody deserves to receive any form of violence. Now, these are some of the examples, no? In the online, now these are already considered under Safe Spaces Act as sexual harassment. So look at this one. Who still recognizes itong basketball player na si Magic Johnson? Can I see a hand? Thumbs up lang for those who still recognize Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson was an NBA player, but he had to retire early because he contracted HIV and eventually yung full-blown AIDS. No? Okay, so thank you very much, Christopher. Sino pa ba? I saw another hand, si Miguel Antonio. Okay, who else? Let me just go back, no? Si Miguel. Okay, are there others? Oh, I saw one here. Si Clarissa Diaz. Actually, she was the first one I saw. Nawala lang eh. No, okay, si Magic Johnson, no? Almira Juan, and then also si Christopher. Reina, I can't read, kaba, hindi kompleto, hindi ko makita, no? And si Christopher. Okay, so thank you very much for raising your hands. Okay, so look at this one. I feel bad for Magic. This man had one son, and this is what God gave him. No, ito. This is the son. And of course, we cannot even judge if this person is a gay or a trans woman, no, because it could also be a costume, no? But probably this person knows the son of magic, no? And so this is what he said. This man had one son, and this is what God gave him. But this is worse, no? Stop the fag. But this is worst with a capital T at the end. God hates fags. And this person even cites a Bible verse, which if you look at it is actually a misinterpretation, no? And then it says fag equals anal sex equals, what does this mean? Poison? Or should it mean death to this fag that he calls? No, okay, so these are really, these expressions are homophobic. No, they are homophobic expressions, no remarks, homophobic remarks. And this one too, sexist. It says, men are the only ones fit for combat. And so the woman, no, I suppose this is a woman kasi may breasts no? Do bullets know that? Alam ba yan ng bullet pagka ano mo na? Remember, in other jurisdictions, no, in other countries, even in Israel, women are already engaged in direct combat. Pero sa atin, hindi pa, we're not yet prepared, but we did try in Marawi, where women were recruited as marksperson, no? But they were still behind the wall. No, but they said, they are target shooters because, yun daw pulso nila, no? Their pulse is very steady. Okay, so they were able to prove themselves, but most of those who were sent in Marawi at the time, women soldiers, no, female soldiers, were actually those preparing foods in the kitchen, no, so the traditional role of women. No, but this one is downright sexist, but more so this next. So I don't know how many of you still recalls the comic strip Archie. Archie in the newspaper comic strip. No, this is a little bit old, but can I see a hand? Reina, ikaw pa rin ba to, or was this a while ago? Angeline Pingol? Are there who could still recognize si Archie? Wala nang makarecognized. Okay, but okay, si Angeline, si John Paul, si Michael, si Almira again, si John Paul Briones, si ano ba to? Bakit? Ano ba to? Yera, si Daisy, si Yera Thea, okay, si Jana, no, si Miguel. Okay, so thank you very much for raising your hands. So si Archie to, no? So si Jeffrey, so I saw Jeffrey also there, no? Danilo ba yun? Did I see Danilo raising the hands? Okay. Anyway, ano ba ang sinabi dito, no? Okay, so this is distressing, no? And so sexist slur. It says, "Sucks. Don't cry, Betty. All women, sabi, all women are failures. Otherwise, they'd be men." So, if the person is not a failure, then it's got to be a man. A man, okay? Pero kung failure yung person, then that is a woman. So, this is a sexist slur, no? It is demeaning to women, no? Yung human dignity, the human dignity of the woman, no, was actually violated several times with this kind of comment. Also this one, okay? Do you recognize who said this? No, can I see a hand? It says, "We will not kill you. We will just shoot you in the vagina." And this is referring to an NPA woman, a female NPA. And then this one, "I was angry she was raped." Yes, that was one thing. But she was so beautiful. I think the mayor should have been first. What a waste. Okay, so Jessa, si Danilo recognized who said this. Also si Jessa May, si Jeffrey, si Selene, si Michael, si Reina, Okay, so who else was I not able? Si John Patrick, si Danilo, no? Si Madeline, Jessa May. So thank you very much for recognizing. Ang dami, no? Si Jim, si Kiara. Okay, so many of you did recognize who said this, no? And this is unfortunate because ito yung kataas-taasan, no? Imagine very unstatesman-like, no? So or rather an state person like, no? Kita mo pati ako may lapses ako, no? Sabi ko statesman. Okay, but you know, they say that the first thing that comes from your mouth, that is the truth, no? And so here all the while, no, he pretends to be angry that she was raped, but you look at this one, she said she was so beautiful. I think the mayor should have been first, no? Sobrang stupid all of these rape jokes, no? This person, grabe talaga, you will lose your respect. And then this one, to tell an NPA that we will shoot you in the vagina. And so for us, let us adopt, please, this poster that says sexism. Okay, sexism. See it. When you see it, you have to name it and tell the person that is sexist. And we have to tell the other people, stop it. Itigil mo na yan. Or else we are addressing also ourselves who have been sexist and we have been giving sexist remark. No, we have to say, stop it. No, even, you know, yung mga invectives like PI, yung putang ina, diba? Because what are we doing with our mother? Why do we have to call them our mothers that way, no? And some talagang dito na lang, no? And again, the taas-taasan said that, no? That PI. So we have, when we see sexism, we have to tell and name it and call it that, and we have to stop it, or else ask the other person to stop it. Okay, and if you have any chance to come face to face with the kataas-taasan, I would applaud somebody who would even stand up during a conference where he is there and tell and probably ask or raise the hand and go to the mic and say, sir, that is sexism at its height. Please stop it because it is not a good example for our children. So probably you will be immortalized by standing up to people like that, no? Okay, another one here. And this one, very sexist with a different, another look here because there is a moral standard different for men and different for women. So it says here, guys have sex with multiple girls. He's the man. What do we mean by he's the man? That means we will have to imitate, no? Big time, you know, he has many girlfriends. But if it's a woman, we have a different moral standard because it says girls have sex with more than one guy. She's a slut. Kita mo? Pag lalaki, hindi yun slut. Hindi masama, no? Tutularan pa natin. Pero pagka babae yan, slut yan. Diba? Which reminds me of this teleserye about To Have and to Hold. I saw one, what you call this, because I'm studying in our dining hall. I'm in my dining hall now, and I could see the television face to face, no, when my sister watches TV. Yung To Have and to Hold, in one of the show there, there was this, sino ba tong artista dito? You know, na si senior moment ako in To Have and to Hold. Sabi niya, because the wife, no, the spouse had a fling with another guy, and then he couldn't forgive the spouse. Sabi niya, and then he said something like, why can't a man not easily forgive a woman when the husband is unfaithful could easily forgive the husband, no? Why do you think it is very difficult for the man to forgive? Because, of course, they are privileged and they cannot believe that that can happen to them, that even women can do that. Kung kaya ng lalaki, kaya rin gawin ng babae. No, but, of course, they cannot accept that. They feel that it is only the man's privilege to have several women, no, or to be unfaithful and to have another girlfriend, no. But when it's the wife, they cannot accept, and for them, they could even kill the wife, no. That is double standard, no. And so that's what we call the moral standard is different for men and different for women. They are stricter when it comes to women than with men, no. So unfair, no. Okay, but that is a sexist online. Okay, it's on Twitter. Is that it? Okay, so how is gender-based street and public spaces sexual harassment committed? Again, persistent, uninvited comments or gestures on a person's appearance. No, so when we see a gay or a trans woman, no, or a trans man, and then we will be giving comments and gestures and probably including laughs, because a laugh is also a language, no? And it says persistent and it is uninvited. Even comments like, wow, ang sexy mo ngayon, no? Wow, ang ganda-ganda mo naman ngayon, napaka-attractive. No, when the person doesn't invite it and doesn't ask you, do not give any comments, no? Do not give uninvited comments or even gestures, no? I remember here si Senator Gordon when he was interviewed in RPN 9 by Pia Ontiveros, no? Very unstatesperson-like also, no? You don't expect that and you shouldn't expect that from senators and big public officials, no? I'm naming them, of course, because I saw it anyway on TV, and he was being interviewed and he said something like, thank you very much, the beautiful anchor, Pia Ontiveros. So si Pia parang, she got uncomfortable and she could just say in a very, silent way na, thank you. But that you could feel, palpably the unwelcomeness of the situation because it's uninvited. If you watch other, anchors all over the world in other, seldom do you see that. No, I haven't seen an interviewee who would be giving comments to an anchor and say you are handsome or you are this, unless of course they are friends, and old friends. Still, it's so improper, no. Okay. Also, relentless request for personal details. No, it says relentless because when the person says I don't like to give you my phone number, then don't be persistent. Okay? But let us also send a strong signal that when it is no, it is no. Hindi ito simpleng pagpapakipot. We want our privacy and so we say no. Unless, of course, we also like it, and okay lang, no? But for those who will request, beware. Because, when we talk of sexual harassment, in evidence appreciation, the point of view that they will consider is the point of view of the victim. It's not the point of view of the decision makers and say, hindi naman yan na, wala lang naman yun, joke lang naman yun eh. Masyado naman siyang balat sibuyas. No, you have to look at it from the point of view of the victim. Because if the victim felt na ito, unreasonably, ito ay talagang nag-humiliate siya, then that means that is sexual harassment. Okay? And also, sexual comments and suggestions, I remember another senator, si Senator Soto, talagang nakakahiya, that's why it's so important that our superiors should also go through this, it's unfortunate that those who are going through this are only mga employees and students. Although of course in UP, we went around, nagpaikot-ikot kami because all our officials have to undergo this seminar, sexual comments. But during the committee on appointments nung time na yon, and they were of course interviewing si Professor Judy Tagiwalo, who happened to be at that time, of course she was a professor of the College of Social Work and Community Development, and she was a member of our Board of Trustees sa UP, and then she was appointed secretary of DSWD. I'm not sure if it's DSWD. Tapos ano ang sabi sa kanya? I heard that you have a child, o may mga anak, may anak, and then si Soto said, naano ka lang. Imagine telling him that sa face ni siguro tingnan din natin doon kaya sa pamilya niya wala kayang naano ka lang, or that sa mga relatives niya wala rin bang naano, and so what kung ito ay solo parent, so what, what is his business, coming up with that kind of comments, so ito yung mga tao na gender insensitive. Again, letter E, offensive body gestures at someone and other similar sexual actions. We had a case before when I was still the general counsel. Merong kaso that went all the way up to the papunta sa board din, Board of Regents, and this is a professor, a lecturer, who asked for data, yung filer, where you organizer, ng files. And then she asked a property custodian na lalaki, a male property custodian, but this female lecturer, she appears like she is a lesbian. I say appear because I really do not know, unless of course she will divulge and say I'm a lesbian, But the gender expression, is like she looks like in the masculine side of expression. Okay? And so when she was asking, tinitikis siya ng property custodian, so the property custodian didn't give her the filer, and then she went through the experience of sexual harassment, and at one time the property custodian did a limbo-limborak, alam niyo yung sayaw na limbo-limborak, and then he placed his hand in front doon sa kanyang organ. Ewan ko ba, may mga ganyang sayaw ngayon ng mga bata na pagka sumasayaw sila, parang humahawak-hawak sila sa organ nila na parang So ang ginawa niya, naglimbo-limburak siya, na tapos both hands were dun sa organ niya. Of course, nakapantalo naman siya, he's in pants, wearing pants. And then he was doing, he was sticking his tongue, and then, parang looking at her salaciously, and or sometimes taunting her, and then sticking out her tongue, okay, as though telling her, oh well, you're still just a lesbian, you are still a woman, and you don't have this, or probably I don't know what the meaning is, but of course that was found to be sexual harassment. Okay, so those offensive body gestures at someone and other similar lewd sexual actions. Take note that all of these are in the context of sexual harassment, so it has to be sexual in nature. Okay, another is any unwanted advances, whether verbal or physical, that has threatened one's sense of personal space and physical safety. Okay, so this is very dangerous because it simply says unwanted advances or chancing, and because of that, it threatened the person's personal space. Parang takot na siya, atras na siya, iiwasan tayo and say, kadiri, nakakadiri, Okay, so we will say that, In other words, it's a violation of the personal space and physical safety of the person, including leering, tinitingnan-tignan natin siya, intrusive gazing, tapos if the person has a plunging neckline, at saka medyo nakikita yung, yung curves niya, and then we are looking, Okay, so those are considered what we call this sexual harassment. Also, persistent telling of sexual jokes. This is the most usual, no, usual and also the use of sexual names, no. Okay, so yung mga sexist jokes na mga green jokes, no. So we say when we see it, sabi natin doon sa poster kanina, when you see it, you name it, and then you stop it, no. And so when I see sexist jokes, because it's not funny, when, for example, a professor would text me, I would say, Professor so-and-so, that's a green joke, it's a sexist joke, I hope that you don't do it again. Okay, so put it in a very nice way, because, you know, we've been so used to this, no? We think it's normal. So all of us are victims, even women do green jokes, no? Or else, if there are green jokes, we laugh. Complicit tayo. When we laugh, we are further aggravating the situation. Okay? And then, of course, yung stalking. No? So, it's not a joke, it's not romantic, it's not okay. So, please stop stalking. When we say, for example, to a suitor, no, please, no, busted ka na, and then this person would still follow you around, and so even at home, when you open your window, biglang nandoon, no, waiting for you outside, no, that is stalking, that cannot happen, okay? And so, we will not allow that. Now, there is now, like we said, in Safe Spaces Act, unlike in RA 7877, we now have the online sexual harassment. No? So ito yung two kinds of sexual harassment that is not present in RA 7877. No, this time online also is included. And when we speak of online, we talk of, you know, physical, psychological, and emotional threats, unwanted sexual, misogynistic, transphobic, homophobic, and sexist remarks and comments that are done online, whether publicly or even through direct or private messages. No? So we send messages to the email, private email, or sa private, sa Facebook ng tao, in the Instagram, in the Twitter, in the text messages, Viber, Messenger, everything, no, online. So that is not allowed. Also, invasion of the victim's privacy through cyber stalking and incessant messaging. We always send messages, no? Cyber stalking, sabi natin, stalking, no? This person follows you everywhere, no, physically, but this time it can also happen online, because when you open your email, oh, nandoon siya, no? O kaya when we open our video, nandoon siya. Okay, so that is cyber stalking. Okay, the use of uniform and communication also technology through you know, uploading or sharing without the consent of the victim. So very important is the consent. Any form of media that contains photos, voice, or video with sexual content. To have sexual content. Okay, what? Of the victim. So, for example, the sexy, the nude, the partial nude, the physical body of the body of the victim. Okay, o kaya, you know, some young people, they go through sexual intercourse, and then you know, they have the temerity also to video it, and then when they quarrel, they separate, and then one of the party, usually yung lalaki, no, would threaten if the person, if the girl will not reconcile with him, okay, and send this, okay, papa-upload ko to. Okay, so bawal yun, no, without the consent of the victim. Any photos, voice, or video with sexual content, no? Okay, may mga sexual content yung mga photos, like naka-nude siya, yung gano'n, o kaya yung boses niya na umuungol-ungol during sex, no? Okay, sex activity. Also, letter D, unauthorized recording and sharing of any of the victim's photos, videos, or any information online. Okay, so we do not have the right, no, to record or even share the victim's photos. For example, lalo na yung mga nagpipimp, yung peeping, no, halimbawa nagbibis, and then silently we took the photo of this person. Okay, mga videos, no, of kissing scenes and all of that, and sexual activities, or any information, we put it online without, no, sabi dito, unauthorized recording, no, whether or not there is consent is immaterial in letter D. Basta unauthorized. Okay, so and letter E, impersonating identities of victims online or posting lies about victims to harm their reputation. Anong example nito? Usually, there's this sex activity, and so what do? We change the face of the person, no? And then we superimpose another face, no? For example, the face of our former lover, no? So that the former lover will be put in disrepute, no? Biro mo, sexual activities, and then it goes viral, no? Kasi in online. So that cannot happen. O kaya mga nude photos of certain people, and then what we do is we change the head, and then we put the head of our enemy, no, yung aming frenemy, our former friend, and now our enemies. We will put the face there, and it will put the person in disrepute. Okay? Okay. Then also filing false abuse reports to online platforms to silence victims, no? False abuse reports. What are these? For example, we would say that so-and-so had a relationship with a married person. But that will cast, no, that's not good for the reputation of the person. Or had sex with so-and-so. Okay, so, and they are not even true. No, they are false reports. And we know there are trolls going around now, so many trolls telling about misinformations and lies, no, during election. And sometimes they could also destroy the reputation of some of the candidates, no? Okay, or even saying, of course, sa bagay, hindi naman yun sexual, no? Yung sasabihin na this one is a cocaine addict or whatever, no? Pero sexual ang information, okay? Now, I mentioned to you a while ago about the driver passenger, no? The driver who was sexually harassing the passenger. So there is what we call the qualified gender-based streets, public spaces, and online sexual harassment. Okay, so one example is in a common carrier, this was perpetrated by the driver to the passenger. Why? Because the driver has the control. So meron siyang ascendancy in that sense. So hawak niya yung manibela eh. No, another is when the offended party, no, the victim, is a minor, a senior citizen, a person with disability, or a breastfeeding mother nursing her child. Okay, so whoever is the offender, no, the one who is the perpetrator will merit a higher degree, no, higher penalty. And also, the offended party is diagnosed with a mental problem tending to impair consent. So even if the person agrees, but we find out that this person has mental deficiencies, mentally challenged, no? So that would also be the offender or the perpetrator will also receive a higher degree of penalty. Also, if the perpetrator is a member of a uniformed services perpetrated while the perpetrator was in uniform. So we're not only talking of police or military, we are also talking of employees who are on uniform. And so kung you have your uniform and then you do sexual harassment, why? Because you also harm the reputation of the school or the corporation or the company where you work, no? The reputation of your employer's company. So hindi po pwede. And in the premises of a government agency offering frontline public services perpetrated by the government employee. So this refers to employees, no, who are in the frontline public services. They will also receive higher penalty when they are dealing with clients, no? So mga social services, no? Kasi syempre they entertain also yung mga victims o yung mga police, no, public service, no? O mga nandoon sa mga medical clinics or infirmary. Or even in just the offices, those in the frontliners, mga cashiers or you know, yung may mga behind the glass door, and then the students also will deal with them. Okay, so they are in the frontline services. So may I know who are in the frontline services here? Can I see a hand? Anyone who will raise hands? Are you still there? Or am I just talking to the wind? Walang frontline in the frontline services? None?
There are actually two, Attorney Leo.
Si
think-
Irish and
There's also Laika and Christopher.
I can't see them. Nakita ko nakataas si Irish.
Also Jim.
Let me see ha. Bakit wala? I can't see. Yung isa, okay, I see the other one is si Elmer. Okay? Si Laika, Elmer. Okay, ito mga taas. So, si Laika, si Jeffrey, si Jim, si Monica, si Harley, si Christopher, si Wagar, who else? Okay, and si Christopher. Okay, so be careful because you are frontliners. And so if you do sexist remarks, you will receive a higher penalty. Okay, so higher penalty yan. Now, also, gender-based sexual harassment in the workplace. Like we said, this is already under RA 7877. So, talaga namang pinipenalize those who are in the workplace within or outside the premises. No? So like we said, even if it's outside the premises, if it is work-related or training-related, it is still considered work. No? Okay, so there is nothing different here. Only, this time, it may be committed between peers. No? Nakataas din yung si Joyce at saka si Monica, okay, at saka si Harley, at saka si Jim. Okay, so mga frontliners. Okay, so dito, peer-to-peer, pwede na. No? Hindi na lang ito superior at saka subordinate. Also, take note, a subordinate to a superior officer. So even a subordinate can now commit sexual harassment against the superior, meaning against the bosses, no? Mga bossings natin, pwede tayong mag-commit against our bossing because sometimes this could happen, especially if our supervisor or our manager are younger than us, no? Kung bata pa sila, no? Sometimes we tend to have this certain power, especially if we are males, no? Kasi feeling na naman nila, lalaki ka pa, babae ka pa rin. Female, sabi nga ni Justice Leonen, female qua female. Simply because you are a female, you are perceived to be the weaker sex, quote unquote. Weak ka, so medyo nakatataas kami. So kahit na boss kita, kaya kitang i-sexually harass. Okay? So pwede yung subordinate to a superior officer because the power doesn't come from the authority, no, yung position, but it comes from the fact na usually lalaki, no. Sa babae pwede rin yan mangyari but only usually in a situation where the woman is the boss. Kasi usually sa society natin, it has always been regarded, they always say that women are the weaker sex, no. Doon nang gagaling yung tingin, yung thinking of the people, no. Okay, so again, it says an act or series of acts. Pwedeng isa lang, any unwelcome sexual advances, request, or demand for sexual favors, or any act of sexual nature that is in the nature of verbal, physical, or technology, and it has or could have a detrimental effect on the conditions of an individual's employment, or even education or job performance or opportunities. Okay. Now, and then, this one is a conduct na nakakatakot because this is catch-all. No sexual nature or other conduct based on sex affecting the dignity of the person, which is unwelcome, unreasonable, and offensive, even by way of verbal, physical, or by way of online technology. So, take note dito sa una, we're talking of acts or series of acts and also conduct, no? How we behave. Okay, so that will be sexual harassment. And this is the most dangerous because this is catch-all. If nothing else, if it's not in A and B, everything could be here. A conduct that is unwelcome and pervasive and creates an intimidating, hostile, or humiliating environment for the recipient. Take note, it says for. So it is always the point of view of the recipient. How did the recipient receive that conduct? Because of course, conduct here to mean sexual conduct, no? If it is unwelcome and pervasive and it is intimidating or hostile, then it becomes sexual harassment. Again, what are the duties and liabilities of the employer? So all of those with authority, influence, or moral ascendancy should prevent and deter or punish the performance, no? And then again, it says this time, it's very clear that if they do not implement their duties under Section 17, which is to investigate and to create procedures, no? And to come up with resolutions, no? To act on the sexual harassment, there will be a separate case for them, conviction. This is in addition to if they were the ones who actually committed the offense. Iba pa yung if the employer is the offender. Another penalty is if the employer did not implement their duties in Section 17 or they did not take action on reported acts of GSB committed in the workplace. Remember LBC versus Parco, where the employer said, oh, we did not participate in the sexual harassment. But the court says, no, it was reported to you and you failed to take immediate action. And so, therefore, in this case, that will also constitute another penalty for the employer. So another conviction, fine or imprison, conviction, it is fine. No? So dito, fine din lang. So there is no imprisonment, but in any case, it is guilty. So it doesn't matter if there's imprisonment or fine. The important thing is they will be found guilty. Now, sexual-based harassment in education, okay, so they want to provide a gender-sensitive environment. And so it says there that in the schools, we have to disseminate or post a copy of this act in a conspicuous place in the educational institutions. And we also provide measures like information campaigns, just like what we do now, and create an independent internal mechanism or CODI. So for the schools who still do not have a committee to investigate complaints, then they have to put up, whether under RA 7877 or under RA 11313 or the Safe Spaces Act. So again, the duties, no, to prohibit gender-based violence, to come up with rules, no, for the CODI or the code for the Committee on Investigation, set up administrative penalties. Those are the duties of the employer, no, and the remedy for the victim. Then they will be entitled to psychological counseling services, and when it comes to the expenses, then the fees will be charged against the perpetrator or the offender. No, pwedeng siya ang magbabayad, yung offender. Okay? Kung the person, the victim has to go through counseling services. Okay, so now a prescriptive period. When can we file the case? Okay, so last few so we can file if it is catcalling and wolf whistling. Unlike in RA 7877, dito sa 78 RA 11313, when it's cursing, wolf whistling, catcalling, we have to file it within 1 year. Otherwise, it is barred forever. Now, if it is offensive body gestures, that's just like what I said, yung naglilimbo-limburak, ganyan, ano? Exposing the private parts, no, for sexual gratification, yung mga, anong bang tawag mo dito, yung mga nag-expose na mga organs sila, that's 3 years, yung mga flashers, no, ang tawag. And then stalking, and when accompanied also by touching, itong B and C, itong dalawa, ito, pagka accompanied by touching or pinching or brushing against the body or private parts, no, yung nang pipinch yung mga bottom pinchers, yung mahilig mag-pinch diyan, no, dun sa mga sensitive private parts o kaya naman dun sa breasts, no, that is 10 years. However, if it is online, it is imprescriptible. Walang hangganan. Kahit na 10 years na, 20 years na, hanggat buhay yung tao na offender, we could still file a case against the person. Why? Because this is online. Ang hirap tanggalin yan. Forever kung minsan yan na nandiyan. Now, if it happens in the workplace, So the prescriptive penalty is 5 years. In the educational and training institutions, it is 5 years. No? Okay, some people are asking, paano yung sa RA 7877 walang prescription? My sense is that to play safe, no? Kasi dun sa kaso, sabi, it would vary, no? That is RA 7877. Pero meantime, meron na tayong Safe Spaces Act, naglagay na sila. And so I would advise you that you still file, even if it happened in the workplace or educational, we file it in 5 years para sigurado lang tayo. Okay? Now, finally, what is the difference between the two? In RA 7877, we said that the nature of the offense, okay, quid pro quo, something for something, pagka sa RA 7877, no, so I give you your promotion provided you go to bed with me. Dito sa Safe Spaces Act, wala. Now, what will be the offense penalized? That is when we demand, request, or otherwise require any sexual favor. That is under RA 7877. Dito, hindi tayo kailangang manghingi, mag-request, o mag-demand. It is simply unwanted and uninvited sexual actions or remarks, regardless of the motive. Kasi it could happen not in work or education, no? Kasi nga po pwede sa streets, di ba? At saka sa public places. Who will be the offender? In RA 7877, the offender is just the superior officers, mga superior lang. Pero dito sa RA 7877, hindi kailangan nyo kung may authority ka, may influence or moral ascendancy. Because even now in the workplace, pwede na yung peer-to-peer, even the subordinate to a superior officer. And even in the street-based sexual harassment, they will not ask kung iyong ba ay superior or what, kasi that's beside the point. No? Wala naman tayo sa work situation or in an education situation. Okay? Now, for CODI, yung pag-put up ng Code of Decorum and Investigation, yung committee to investigate, sa RA 7877, there is no requirement that it be headed by a woman or that majority should be a woman, but here in RA 11313, it should be headed by a woman and half of the members should be women. Now, as to the place of commission, like we said, very limited lang ang RA 7877, work and education, environment lang. Excuse me. Whereas in safe spaces, no, hindi lang siya sa work and education, but it now includes public and online. And finally, when it comes to consent, in RA 7877, regardless of whether or not it was accepted. So consent is not important. More so in Safe Spaces Act, consent is not important. Hindi kailangan ng consent. Okay? So consent is not a requirement. Okay, so that said, I would just like to say that from here on, it's not that we just want us to become mushrooms. No, we could still behave in a natural way, but you see, we have to remember that sexual harassment is really sexual violence. We are doing violence to the human dignity of the person, regardless of gender identity. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Attorney Leo. So that was a lot to digest, no? And it was very, very informative for us. So as an old saying goes, ignorance of the law excuses no one. But I think it's also at the same time, we are made aware of the rights that we have and how we can also use the law to our advantage, especially in cases of, if we might fall victim to other people, no? Especially on matters of violence or sexual violence. So at this point, we'll give Attorney Leo a few minutes to rest for a while probably. And at the same time, for those who may have questions, please do type it in the chat box. So right now, our chat box is actually flooded with thank yous. No, thank you so much, Attorney Leo. It was a very valuable talk. A lot would mention that it was very substantive. So we are getting a lot of thank yous in the chat box. So
Thank
While
you.
waiting for, yeah, thank you so much, Attorney Leo. So while waiting for your questions, I know some of you might still be formulating. I mentioned earlier that we did, this is actually a webinar series on the Safe Spaces Act of course, in support of the PCW's 18-day campaign. So following our next webinar for next Saturday will be about the Safe Spaces Toolkit, what to do in case of gender-based sexual harassment with Professor Teresa De Luna of UP Diliman Office of Anti-Sexual Harassment. And on December 11, we'll be knowing more about safe spaces at work and school with Attorney Eric Paul Peralta, who is the UP Los Baños HR Director. So for questions, you may type them in the chat box. I think we have some questions coming in. So I think we have one first from Wakar. Ma'am, is there a special article mentioned in the, sorry, sir, may you please, because it's in acronyms, UDHR for violence against women. Maybe you can retype them so I can, we can ask Attorney Leo. But for the meantime, here's another one.
UDHR, you mean the Universal Declaration of Human Rights?
Yeah, I think that's
Okay, so what is the question there?
Is there a special article mentioned in the UDHR for violence against women?
There is none in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights because remember that is just a declaration, as guideline, a standard, right? But there is what we call the women's rights there, protection to women. Now, in the CEDAW, which is the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, it says also that there you cannot find that word violence, no, sexual violence. However, the Committee on CEDAW, the Committee on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women and their Children, issued general recommendations number 12 and number 19. Okay, in number 12, they said that the states should report whether or not there are what we call gender violence happening. Okay, and in general recommendation number 19, they defined, okay, that sexual violence is a form of discrimination. And we know that when the Committee on CEDAW issues a general recommendation, it is very persuasive because it's a legal interpretation of certain provisions of CEDAW. Because in CEDAW, we know, and in all other human rights treaties, one of the very important international human rights principles is non-discrimination. And so they said that sexual violence is a form of discrimination, or rather gender violence is a form of discrimination. And they defined gender violence to mean violence against women or those that disproportionately affects women. We say disproportionate because all over the world, there are more women than men who are violated. I hope I answered the question of our friend from Pakistan.
Thank you so much, Attorney Leo. So we have another question. No? What is the prescriptive period for child abuse? What about sexual harassment or sexual assault that happened in an educational institution, student to student? I think you're on mute, Attorney Leo.
In an education, like I said, in RA, which is a criminal offense, no, RA 7877, they did not put a prescriptive period. That's why we cited the Philippine ALUS case, where it says that it would vary, it would depend on the circumstances. However, I cautioned that under RA 11313, we said that there are already the prescriptive period, they provided already some prescriptive period. so that if it has something to do, for example, of catcalling, wolf whistling, and it also happened in the public spaces, because there are many public spaces in the school, right? Even your classroom is a public space. So it says 1 year when it has something to do with misogynistic, transphobic, sexist slurs or remarks. But if it's an offensive body gesture, no, or exposing the private parts, that's 3 years. But when it's stalking, or when there is wolf whistling and then it is accompanied by brushing with the private parts of the person, that's 10 years. And if it's online, that's imprescriptible. Now, in the work and education, sexual harassment, that's 5 years. So I would advise that you file the sexual harassment, no, if it's school or education, better to file it within 1 year if it happened there. But taking note of the fact that depending on the kind of sexual harassment, no, the one I mentioned to you a while ago.
Okay, thank you so much, Attorney Leo. So I think earlier there was a tape. It was shown earlier, not the prescriptive periods, depending also on the act. So there's also
Yes,
one question.
may I show it again just for
Yes.
purposes? Okay,
Yes, sure.
so this is it, no? If you can see, so whistling, wolf whistling, catcalling, that's 1 year. We have to, this is a public space, no? Street-based, no? Yung nakita mo dyan. Ngayon, offensive body gestures also 3 years, no? Or we expose. Now, stalking, or if it's A and B, these two, but it is accompanied with pinching or brushing against the body, that's 10 years. And then online, no, wala nang distinction. As long as it was done online, it's imprescriptible, meaning to say there is no limitation. Now, if the sexual harassment happened in the workplace or education, it is 5 years, no? Unless it falls in any of these 3 earlier. All other sexual harassment, like sexual favor in the workplace or education, that is 5 years. So I would say that better to file it in 5 years if it happened in a work or education situation. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, Attorney Leo. So there's also I think we can entertain probably 2 or 3 more questions. I hope that's okay, Attorney Leo.
Yes, of course.
Okay. So I think this is very, I know with the holidays coming up, there might be reunions, and sometimes, there will be relatives who might give unsolicited comments about one's, especially body, no? So I think this one is in relation to that. Attorney, in a layman's term, so pwede din po tayo talaga mag-file ng gender violence pag close friend, peers, or relatives ang offender?
Of course. Of course, nothing can stop us. In fact, kahit nga parents natin, di ba? Because it didn't say that except our relatives or our friends, no? But of course, like I said, if they are our relatives or friends, they may also be misinformed. They are not gender sensitive like most of us, no? Unless, of course, they go through this gender sensitivity training. And so probably for the first or second time, maybe, especially with our relatives, we can be a little bit more patient, just to explain to them in a nice way that shouldn't happen. Yun lang mga idea pati na, kailan ka ba mag-aasawa? May edad ka na, etc. Kailan ka? No, those are harassing questions, no? About when to get married and that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you po, Attorney Leo. So I think, no, that was very, I think how, sometimes when we're dealing with our family members, I think they also come from a place of ignorance or they're not aware. So I guess since we are knowledgeable of this, we hope that we can also impart to them, at least inform them about that there are these existing laws. So personally, Attorney Leo, I have my brother is actually an engineer, and because he's a safety engineer, he looks after the construction workers and all that. And I told him, you know what? Sometimes there are many many complaints against construction workers, no, and he actually see it in action. Na if there are girls who pass by, then they really do the catcalling, whistling. So I told him, there's already a law about that. So I hope you inform them about it also, because it may put them in a difficult position as well. So I think that's what we can hopefully also do, no, for our family members. So there's also a question. Paano po pag minor ang offender? Is it covered po, attorney?
Well, of course, kung minor kasi may exemption yan di ba? Under the juvenile justice. No, so kung sexual harassment yan, yung mga below 15, no, they will be exempted. Now either they will go through yung sinasabi nating intervention, no, in which case they could still be returned to their family, but they will talk with the DSWD to find out what are the things that this child will do. Probably will also go through training and GST training, or else diversion, no, diversion kung minor pa yan. Kasi we are giving the children the chance to turn into a new leaf, no, so sayang din naman. And like we said, all of us have been victims, no? Babae, lalaki, we are all victims of this because of the patriarchal type of society that we have. And this is all over the world, yung mga ganyan. That's why it's very important to go through this gender sensitivity training for both male and female employees and even students, no, and faculty members and officers.
Okay, thank you so much, Attorney Leo. So I think we can accommodate one more in the interest of time also. Here, I think this is from one of our participants, no, from Pakistan as well.
At saka si Jim Fula, I could see also Jim Fula raising his hand.
Okay, so we will entertain one more from Jim and from Wakar. We'll go first to Wakar because, ma'am, how can UN ensure the gender violence at country level? Is there special committees and how do they work?
Okay, this is it. From the point of view of international remedies, if there are no laws in the country, okay, on sexual harassment in the country level, so the only way for you is really to go to the committee. No, more particularly if it's a sexual harassment committed against a woman, then they could file a complaint, an individual complaints before the committee on the elimination of all forms of violence against women, no, CEDAW, no, because all treaty bodies, no, if that is assuming, for example, in Pakistan, if Pakistan is a signatory of CEDAW and you don't have a law in your country protecting, for example, people from sexual harassment, so that means that they will not expect anymore what we call the exhaustion of domestic remedies, because usually they would require exhaustion of domestic remedies if there is a way to seek justice in the country. But if there's none, then you could always go international. And usually, if it's a woman, it's under the committee. If not, also in the Committee on Human Rights, which is, of course, the treaty monitoring body of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, no, on the question of discrimination, because sexual harassment is a form of discrimination. Okay, but like I said, you have to ensure that the country is a signatory of these treaties. Okay.
Okay, thank you po, Attorney Leo. So we're still waiting for the question of Jim through chat. However,
maybe she could just ask.
Okay.
Instead of chatting.
Jim.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, your question, please. Jim. Okay, all right. Jim, you may ask your question now.
Yes, ma'am. Attorney, in a girlfriend and boyfriend situation, and without the parent consent of the girlfriend, it is applicable that the human sexual harassment is applicable to a boyfriend who is holding his girlfriend. It is liable for that, ma'am. The boyfriend, it is liable for sexual harassment.
Attorney Leo, I think you're on mute.
What do you mean holding? Nag-holding hands sila, ganon?
Yes po, ma'am. Yung parang nasa public place, holding, tsaka mag-boyfriend, tsaka mag-girlfriend po sila. Tapos,
Wala kasi syempre mag-boyfriend yan eh. So it's not unwanted. It's not uninvited, no? It's another matter kung ayaw niya, unwanted, no? Kasi remember, even now, there is such a thing as marital rape. It isn't because married ka, pwede kang magkaroon ng sexual harassment sa asawa. Kung ayaw nung asawa, hindi mo dapat siya pipilitin. Pero kung mag-boyfriend kayo at wala namang resistance from your girlfriend, so that's not sexual harassment. So remember, unwanted, uninvited. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
There's a question kay Elmer.
Yes. Elmer, you were raising your hand. Maybe you have a question.
Good afternoon, attorney.
Good afternoon po.
I'm Mr. Garcia. So my question is, kasi halimbawa, attorney, pag yung babae ang nangharas sa lalaki, parang hindi masyadong binibigyan ng pansin, unlike pag ang babae ang naharas. This is the thing that I've noticed. Kasi, like for example, sa male, pag ang nangharas ang bakla, pwede ka idemanda. Pero pag ang babae ang nangharas, parang it's something unusual that happened.
Okay. Yes, kasi ang sexual harassment, it could happen either way, no? Man or woman could sexually harass, no? Except that kasi all over the world ang statistics, women are disproportionately the victim. Kaya siguro palaging ang napapansin ay sa women. But yes, if the male is sexually harassed, remember that movie Disclosure? Na si Demi Moore ang boss, tapos ang worker niya ay yung lalaki, ay si Michael Douglas, nagsampa ng kaso si Michael Douglas. That can happen. Except that it is, like you said, hindi nga usual eh. No, it's not usual. But even women kung sexually harassed, kaya yung mga women na mga pakurut-kurut dyan, parang, o kaya even women no, could sexually harass mga trans woman no, at saka trans man no, na gagaya-gayahin. Pero mas madalas na nangyayari yan sa mga lalaki na gagaya-gayahin nila na yung, ay naku, di ba, yung mga ginaganon, parang pinaglalaruan nila yung mga gays, no, binibiro-biro, no. So mas madalas yung ganon, no, if you look at it statistically. But yes, it happens. So if you think that is happening also among the males should speak up. Except that I think the male, it's not so easy for them to accept it. Kasi yun nga, yung feeling nila, lalaki ako, paano naman, parang ayaw nilang aminin. No? In fact, it's like for them degrading to be even probably the victim of sexual harassment or even rape. No, marami kaming hinawakan na kaso rin na rape yung lalaki pero nawiwindang, no? Parang they lose their mind kasi they couldn't accept that even them could be victims of rape. Yun. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, thank you so much, Attorney. I think there are also similar questions to that, no, and I think Attorney answered it in this current question. So I think just one last question, no, and I think this can also be, especially for those who are also in the lookout for their loved ones. Can a person file for sexual harassment even if she or he is not the aggrieved party to it and just a mere witness?
Okay. So that's a very interesting and challenging question, no? That has been asked many times. Now, sa UP, in the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act, sabi, we could receive reports. It's possible that the report was not, the reporter is not actually the victim. But, we could always argue that that person is also a victim. Remember, it says in a work situation or even in an education situation, where the sexual favor or the sexual advances happened and it was unwelcome, naging unwelcome siya, intimidating, hostile environment. Because, for example, kung ako nakita ko at na-witness ko, ako mismo na-affected by that, and I didn't like what happened, I could in my own, siguro pwedeng ako na mismo yung victim. No? Pwede ko rin to take the cudgels for the other person, but then the problem is that she might not, baka hindi siya prepared, hindi siya takot. No, so pwede rin nating i-report. Now, what is the purpose of reporting? Maybe the case will not prosper, but at least it will warn the other person na, oops, may kaso ako at they are watching me. No, kahit hindi pa yan mag-prosper. Pero ang sabi nga namin, a person who is able to witness it could be the victim himself kasi yung environment was hostile and unwelcome. You didn't like it. Now, an example also is, yung parang wala siyang talagang specific victim. Putting up calendars on the wall. And those calendars are nude photos. You always get, calendars from hard liquors, remember? With women wearing skimpy dresses, mga sexy, mga ganyan. No, and then you put it on your wall or even yung mga table calendars, no? And people are going, there is easy access. No? It's a public because sometimes in an office, there are so many people, di ba? Maraming mga employees, no? Sa isang opisina, kung minsan 5 kayo, 6 kayo, or 10. No, if it becomes very unwelcomed anymore to many of the employees, no? Remember, sabi, the motive is not important. And so, pwede sila magsampa. No? They can file a case, no? And let us see, because that is an unwelcome situation or environment already. In the United States, there was one case like that, but it's the reverse. It was the only guy, he was the only guy in the office and puros babae. And then every time, during their breaks, no, o kaya naman, even during their work, magpapakitahan sila ng panty. No, say, oh, look at my panty. I bought this, etc., etc. And then may mga baon pa sila. Oh, could you buy this one? Etc., etc., etc. Di ba, mahilig tayo nung may mga tinda-tindahanan tayo sa drawer natin. No, and so the guy actually filed a case. Sabi niya, it is an unwelcomed environment. No? So that can happen. And so ang sabi ko nga, probably part of the campaign really to send a very strong one to the liquors and all of those products, no, mga corporations, is why don't we gather all of these calendars and burn it, no, on December 10. That's part of our, and send a message and send a letter to the corporation that that's not part of the. Now there is such a thing as the UN guidelines on business and human rights. Okay, so corporations are expected to respect human rights. No? And that's a violation. Human dignity of the person is a violation of human rights.
Okay, thank you so much, Attorney, and thank you so much to our participants really for being very interactive in our talk today. Right now we are 295 in the Zoom and around I think 50 in our YouTube live stream. So at one point I think we reached 300 participants. So once again, Attorney Leo, please, we would like to thank you and allow me to just share this one, our certificate of appreciation. So certificate of recognition is given to Attorney Leo D. Batad in grateful recognition for being the resource speaker in the webinar organized by the UP Cebu Gender and Development Office in partnership with the Teaching and Learning Resource Center entitled Safe Spaces Act the Law on November 27, 2021 via Zoom, given on the 27th of November 2021 in support of the 18-day campaign to end violence against women. So signed yours truly by our, and also by Dr. Patricia Angie Nazareno, our Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, and Attorney Liza Di Coro, UP Cebu Chancellor. Once again, we are truly grateful to have you us here, Attorney Leo.
Thank you very much. It's my honor too. Thank you.
Okay, so with that, I think we're again right now I'm reading the messages, the chat box, and there are really a lot of thank yous, and I think with the consent actually of the person who messaged me privately, she said, "Thank you so much, Attorney Leo. You've inspired me to file a case against my abuser." So I guess that's really very empowering to hear also. So with that, we hope that we can have a quick photo op, Attorney Leo. I hope that's okay. Okay, let's have a photo up with our participants. Miss Noel will give us the instructions, I guess. Or, okay.
Okay, everyone, please turn on your camera if it's okay. So that we have actually 12 slides, miss. So please bear with us.
Okay, so there are
Okay.
12 slides, so please hang on to your smiles because we do not know which slide you're on. So just keep on with your smiles, okay?
Okay, so let's go. Smile, everyone. First page, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, 9, 10th, 11th, and last 12. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Again, thank you, Attorney Leo, and to our dear
Yes.
participants. Okay, so if you would want to review this, we have it in our YouTube, in the TLRC YouTube channel. So, but before that, we will be giving some evaluation reminders. So the evaluation and processing of e-certificates are automated. So please make sure to type in the correct spelling of your name, since this will be the one that will be reflected to your e-certificates. Also, please be mindful in typing your email address because it is where you will receive your certificate. So we suggest that you keep a copy of your response in the evaluation for you to verify if you made mistakes. So normally it takes less than 3 minutes after submitting to receive your certificate. So should you not be able to receive it by 5 p.m. today, just send a reply message with your concern to the confirmation email that we sent and msgalorio@up.edu.ph. So again, we will manually send the certificate on the next working day for those who might have problems with the automation. So remember that the evaluation link is open for only 15 minutes. So we hope that you can evaluate immediately. The evaluation link is already in the chat box. So please sent by Sir Michael Andrew. So please click on the link provided and answer immediately. So with that, once again, thank you everyone. And I hope to see you in our succeeding webinars. We still have 2 more in our Safe Spaces Act. And once again, if Attorney Leo is here, thank you so much. So have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, Miss Jazz. Thank you. Congrats.
Congrats. Thank you.
Miss No, may tao pa sa YouTube natin?
Yes, Sir Mike. Wait lang kadiyot kay nagandagan pa sila.
I'll wait for you, Q, po for i-off natin yung live streaming natin.
Okay, okay.
Virtual tour. And we are live! Actually, this is pre-recorded.
Hello there! You made it! Welcome to the virtual tour of the University of the Philippines, Cebu. I'm Annie, and I am a proud alumna of UP Cebu. And between just you and me, I had the best 4 years here in UP Cebu. I came from the College of Communication, Arts, and Design, where we did not learn only the basics in journalism and other communication components, but they also taught us how to become relevant.
You only have one viewer.
My college is also home to the Fabrication Laboratory, where people meet and converge to use different equipment where they can fabricate things, stuff for the advancement of industrial and product design. All of this comes from the creativity of the Fine Arts program itself. Hey, Sean, why don't you tell them more about the Fine Arts program?
The Fine Arts program itself, founded in 1975, is the pioneer formal school in the fine arts outside the national capital. The college is also the host to nearly half a century-old annual painting competition, Jose Hoya Awards, in honor of the famous national artist Jose Hoya, and from whom UP Cebu's Jose Hoya Gallery was named after.
As the campus of the premier university here in the Visayas, we have to be good. No, we have to be better, or even we have to be the best, not only in the humanities, but even in the sciences as well. Isn't that right, Sean?
That's right, Annie. In 2014, UP Cebu Senvi, or the Central Visayas Center for Environmental Informatics, came up with high-resolution maps using LiDAR technology. The use of this technology by UP Cebu Senvi provided government agencies with accurate data for more precise community flood risk assessment and management. This helped local government units make informed decisions based on data science and, in the process, maximizing their financial resource utilization. And in the case of the Naga Cebu landslide of 2018, UP Cebu Senvi's use of LiDAR technology allowed for one of the fastest search and retrieval operations in a disaster in the Visayas.
Helping the community through the sciences is very fulfilling. But we were not just exposed to that. We were also exposed to the social sciences, from political science to psychology, and all of these concepts helped shape our mindsets to become better citizens. In fact,
the College of Social Sciences articulates and addresses global challenges. The college offers comprehensive and appealing programs for high school, undergraduate, and graduate students. The Master of Education program is a non-thesis graduate program designed for graduates of the Bachelor of Elementary Education or Bachelor of Secondary Education who want to pursue their professional preparation through future studies in areas relevant to teacher education.
And of course, there were also budding business leaders in campus. They were the ones who had the nose for business but had the big heart to be of service.
Under the School of Management, students are not only taught to be decision makers, but the forerunners in marketing and finance.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. So for those who are still here in the Zoom, we would just like to inform you that there are some technical difficulties in the automation of the e-certificates. So with that, your certificates will be emailed manually. Please just give us, hopefully, Sir Michael and Miss Noel, maybe this week. Is that correct? If that's
Yes, miss. Maybe we'll try to generate na lang through the record, Sir Mike.
Yes, yes, we can generate the records po. I mean, I think may nagkamali po kasi yung registration po ng automation is nasa pangalan ko eh. I don't know kung anong technical problems na nangyari sa automation. So, I will just manually resend po each of one of you. May record po kami doon. If you do the evaluation, nakukuha na po namin yung records ninyo at saka yung emails ninyo. I will resend din lang po ang correct certificate sa inyo po. Maraming pong salamat.
Yes, okay. So just make sure to evaluate and then we will have all your details. So please be assured that the e-certificates will be given to you. So in the past, it has been done automatically. Maybe there's just, with technology constantly evolving, we are bound to really encounter this at some point. So yeah, so we have an affirmation also from Sir Daniel. I hope you were joining with us in the past webinar. So
yes,
most loyal yan si Sir Daniel eh.
Yes. So again, I see that there's still some who chatted here that they're having a different name. Again, there's a technical issue with our automation. So your certificates will be emailed manually. So please just check your emails within the week. Okay, so thank you so much for that. And again, thank you so much, Miss Noel, Sir Michael, and also Miss Nenen. Thank you so much, Miss
Thank you, Miss
Nenen.
Jazz.
Thank you so much, Miss Jazz. See you
Okay,
next
I will be
week.
leaving now. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Miss.
Bye.
Again, please make sure na lang po to evaluate using the link. We'll resend it, Sir Mike, sa link, so that maka-record po sa forms yung mga names ng participants. So make sure lang po naka-evaluate tayo, and we will send it to you within the week, within the next working week. So don't worry po.
Thanks, Miss Noel.
So again, please make sure lang po na during your evaluation, correct spelling po ng names nyo yung nakalagay, and correct email address po yung nakatype, so that we can resend it to you without having any more problems. Thank you again for being here with us today. The link po is sent by Sir Michael under in the chat box. Please check lang po natin. Yes, Sir Janmar Cortez, please po, and Miss Lorena, please lang, ano lang po, I will send it to you po, the corrected certificate manually. So please expect it within the week. Thank you very much po, and sorry again for the technical problems. All right, again, we will send po, I think my technical glitches or my glitches po yung ating automation for today. But rest assured po again that we will send your certificates correct with the correct names to your emails within the week po. Thank you. Yes, sir, Dad. Sorry, sorry kayo. Thank you again.